Hi guys, it's Kelly here, and I'm back with another video for Trinity Stamps. I am a little bit late on the whole Father's Day thing, but I had a lot of cards to share, and so here I am. I hope you can forgive me. But we are going to make this Star Wars card. Okay, we're going to make it out of all Trinity products. Trinity doesn't necessarily have any Star Wars products, but we're going to be very creative. We will take a very long walk, the scenic route, if you will, but stay with me. We will end up at a Father's Day card or birthday card. You could do it however. You just have to switch up the sentiment a little bit. With these random products for a interactive light up card that is a Star Wars card. So how did this come to be? Oh, let me talk about what I'm doing and then I'll tell you how it came to be. So I'm building up the background. I tried this background a couple of different ways because I'm using the time warp what is that? Why can't I think of the word? The Better Press plate. Lord have mercy on my soul. I'm using the Time Warp Better Press plate. You can swap that out with like a space scene, like a galaxy scene. And I looked for a video because I know I've done them in the past where it's like to link to show you how to do that, and they are all old. So apparently I need to redo that. So a galaxy video will be forthcoming. Anywho. So I'm creating a halo effect. I'm leaving it lightest in the center, and then I'm using my blender buddies to add depth around the outside. So I went Salty Ocean. Is it Blueprint Sketch? It could be Prize Ribbon. They're very similar colors, either or. Chip Sapphire and then Black Soot. And then I'm going to go back from the darkest, the Black Soot, to Chip Sapphire, to the Blueprint Sketch, to the Salty Ocean, so that it's highlighted in the center, because this is where my focal point is going to be, which is going to be my two lit up lightsabers. So I just went through and did that twice. I find that it gives me the best blend. I am doing this on a regular Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock. I did try it on watercolor paper because typically I do my Better Press I get better results if I use a thicker cotton paper. So I typically use watercolor paper, but because watercolor paper is kind of meant to let the moisture sit on top, it wasn't giving me like a really deep, dark ink blending, which is what I wanted, so that it would look like space and the time warp would pop. So I had to switch back to just regular cardstock, and I'll show you the difference once we get down to the part where we actually do the time warp. Because I want to do heat embossing on it, I need to do this first and then give it time, like plenty of time to dry. I did hit it with the little heat tool. I still have to give it time to dry because we just put on so much moisture with all of that ink. So I have two pieces of vellum here. This is how I am going to color my lightsabers. You might have seen me do this before. I like to color my own vellum with distress oxides because they have pigment properties. It will give you a nice, rich color. Here, because I don't use my oxides a lot, my ink pads are super juicy. So when I swiped it on, it put down a lot more ink than I expected. If this happens to you, fret not. Just get a paper towel and just kind of buff over the top of it. You do want to be careful with the vellum because you can very easily bend it and cause a little crinkle in it. Then there's nothing you can do about it. Once the crinkle's in, it's in. So just take your time. Also, you can see how it's getting a little bit spotty. It's because I'm getting the ink on the back of it. So don't do that. Maybe clean up your area. Then for this one, for the red, I was like, okay, I'm not going to swipe it. I'm just going to go in with a blender brush. Now you may be noticing that I'm not using Trinity's blender brushes. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not using Trinity's blender brushes because they are my favorite, and I do not have them in Distress Oxides. You can't commingle your Distress Oxide blenders with your Distress ink blenders, and I don't like oxides enough. I don't use them enough for me to dedicate one of my favorite ink blenders to them. So I have the ones that I use for my oxides are other just brushes that they aren't my favorite. So here I dried both of them very lightly. For vellum, you have to be careful and always keep your brush moving. But you can just set them aside and let them dry. They will dry over time, even though they're a non-porous surface. All right, now let's talk about what we're doing. The talk bubbles Okay, the inside sentiment talk bubbles is how we're going to create our lightsaber. The arches, the smallest of the arches, is how we're going to create our handle. The buttons, the accessories on the camera and on the toaster, here, I forgot to show this one earlier, I apologize, are going to be how we create our buttons on our handles. Now, I will tell you, I know that I'm not matching them exactly. Okay, my lightsabers aren't matching exactly. Is it close enough for government work? Yes. If you have a real ride or die Star Wars fan who will not accept anything but the exact replicas, this card's not for you. But if you just have a Star Wars fan that you would like to celebrate and you can't find any of the products to do so, this is a way for you to create it with maybe what things you already have. So I didn't use all of the bebops and doodads from the cameras. I really just used the circles, and then from the toaster, I used the circles as well. Also from the camera is that small oval with the outline, and the talk bubbles. The reason why they work so well is because they also have an outline. So I have an inside and then I have an outline. The outline is actually what we're going to use. Here I'm testing the blues because I want to make sure that it doesn't blend too much into my background. Like I want you to be able to see the blue, but I don't want it to be like crazy. So I ended up going with a little bit of a lighter blue with it was in Copic. It's a B24. In Olos, that would probably be like a B. I don't know. Let me see if I can figure it out for you. A B, probably like a B 0.5. Yeah, I think that's close. But anywho, so I just colored them. And then for the red, I used an R29 in Copic, and that would be an R1.5 in Olos. And now here I'm trying to figure out my handle. My arch is obviously too long. This looks more like a, you remember those candies when we were kids? I'm old, but I think they still have them. The Fun Dips, that's what that reminds me of. There's a whole nother card idea for you. You're welcome. So anyway, so I measured and then I just trimmed them off. I am now going to color them so that they look like handles to lightsabers. I'm doing like little half ovals on the side. This is going to help give the handles a little bit of a thinner appearance. And then I'm going to do a couple of lines at the top. When I looked up the lightsabers, and yes, I did have to look them up because I am not a Star Wars fan. Don't come for me. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll talk about that more in a minute. But anyway, they have like the little ridges, so I wanted those to be prominent. So in order to get the ridges, we're just going to draw the lines and we're going to leave gaps in between. And then we're going to go over each one of those lines with a progressively lighter color, making sure that we leave lots, like at least a highlight area for that C1. And that's going to help give it that texture so that it looks like it's like a screw, like a, what do they call that? The little screw, the screw tops? No, it has a name. It's not just called a screw top. It's got a name. What? I don't know. Anyway, so it's got the ridges for you to screw things in. That's what I wanted it to look like because that's how the lightsabers look. Then I colored the outside ring for the oval in at a C1, and then I'm going to do one circle black, and I'm going to do one circle like a whitish light gray, so that it looks like it has a little on and off switch. This is going to entice our recipient to press the little buttons on the lightsaber, and then boom, pow, blammo, it's going to light up and it's going to be amazing. Okay, so I did this for both of them. I also had to look up what colors to make these, the red or the blue, because again, I'm not a Star Wars fan. So how did we come about this? We came about this because my sister's son, so my nephew, he's her husband's son. We don't do steps in our family. Everybody's different. I'm just gonna call him my nephew because I love him and his family and his children, like, so it don't matter to me, none. But anyway, so his wife, my sister always gives like my cards to her grandbabies. You guys have probably heard me talk about them like on here, like making their cards and stuff for different things. But anyway, so she asked my sister, hey, would Kelly be willing to make a card for Father's Day? So the two choices I was given was Star Wars, which was her first choice, and then camping. Okay, let's talk about what I'm doing here. So you can see I already have some stuff going on here because I tried a lot of stuff beforehand. I did put a little bit of adhesive onto the back of my cardstock, just a like a temporary rolly adhesive, and then I am inking up my press plate with a white pigment ink. So you're going to see that I'm going to avoid the center because this is a smushier pad, so we don't want to smush it. We just want to gently tap. Otherwise, we're going to get a lot of smushy ink where we don't want it. But I'm avoiding the center. I also did treat it with my anti-static tool because I am going to emboss this. So because letterpress presses the ink into the paper, it does not, it dries pretty quick because it makes kind of like a thin layer. So here, first of all, how cool is this already? Like the time warp is super cool. I love it. You can, like I said, do a space background, like a galaxy background, and that would also work. But I'm not going to lie, I was thrilled with the way that this came out. Um, so then after that, I am going to sprinkle on some white detail embossing powder, and the embossing powder isn't necessarily going to stick to like the center of the time warp section. It really sticks more to the outline. So you get like like two different tones of white. You get the white that's kind of like pressed in, and then you get the white of the embossing. And then just heat set that like everything else. This one to the right is the one that's on watercolor paper. Do you see why I changed? Because it's just not as impactful. Um, so now I'm going to go in with that same die that we used to cut the outline, and I'm going to cut right through this background. I know that this is scary business. Okay, I understand that, but we have to do this in order to make it light up. If you do not want to make a light up card and you just want the lightsabers, you don't have to do this part. You could do all the other steps. And then just like you would glue your vellum to your outline and then trim that around so you could see through it. Or you could skip the vellum altogether because you don't need it because you're not lighting it up. And you could just do a red, just the oval that this cuts out, like the long oval as the lightsaber, and then do the handles and put them over top of each other. And that would be great too. There's a lot of options for this, guys. But I wanted mine to be super cool and light up. So now I've cut them both out. Now here's where the outlines come in. The outlines come in because they are going to make sure that you can still tell that one sits on top of the other. Now, I know I made a faux pas here in my dry run because I put my red on top of my blue. And obviously, as an avid Star Wars fan, I'm not at all. I'm sorry. I know that the red is the no good. So I need the blue to be on top, which honestly, blue is my boyfriend. So really, I'm thrilled to have him be the start of the show. So here I'm putting down a lot of dry adhesive, and I'm going to adhere my vellum. Okay, I'm going to line it up right with that edge because I don't want it hanging over. Like, I don't just want to stick it to the back. I need to line it up right with the edge where that particular lightsaber is going to end. The rest of it to the right doesn't matter, but the part to the left does, because if I leave the vellum overhanging that part, you will see it because it is semi-transparent. So here I'm just cutting off the extra. Okay, the red on the other parts don't matter because we have the handles to cover them up. And then I am going to take the red outline and I am going to adhere that directly to my vellum. So I'm just going to place that down. The talk bubbles aren't shaped exactly the same on each side, so you do want to make sure you match them up. But so now I have the red outline that's going to make sure everybody knows that there is a clear delineation between these two lightsabers. And then I am going to go in and I'm going to add just a scotch of color. You don't have to do this, but I wanted, even when it wasn't lit up, I wanted it to look like the middle was lighter. So I went in with an R29 and then an R35 just around the edge so that it did look like the middle was lighter, because that's how the lightsabers look, right? They're all glowed from the middle. So now I'm going to do the blue side. Here's the thing, okay? We do have to get a little tricky, and I apologize that it's off screen. I'll move it back on there. But like, so I had to pop off the red at the bottom, the vellum at the bottom, so that I could slide the blue into place. But again, we're not going to see that, so it doesn't matter. Maybe just don't put adhesive there. I didn't have an issue popping it off, I'll be honest, because vellum is hard to get to stick anyway. It's now once we get the card built, it's trapped under there, so that's like less of an issue. But I didn't have a hard time just popping it off of that dry adhesive. Now, if I had used liquid adhesive, probably be different, but I used dry, so I didn't have any problems. Again, we're going to trim off the extra. And once again, see how the blue is covering the handles? It doesn't matter. Does not matter. So now we're going to put the blue oval on top of this one, and we'll have two again. We'll have the red in the back, the blue on top. So anyway, my sister, this is her son's Father's Day card. But anyway, so they she was like, I don't know anything about Star Wars either, girl. I was like, but that's her preferred one. And I want her to have what she wants. Like, she came to me and asked me to make her card, and I want her to be thrilled with it. Because how, like, it's very, like, when somebody recognizes your cards as something that they appreciate and want, like, yes, I am here for that. Okay, so here we did the blue. We used a B26 and a B24. Yeah, I used both of those. And then I just did the same thing. I went around the edges so that it was a little bit darker and it was lighter in the middle. And then you'll see here, when I put the handle on, there's just like a smidge, a little triangle where it should be red and it's not. I am going to fix that by coloring it with an alcohol marker, because alcohol ink markers will literally color anything. Okay. They will color anything. It doesn't matter. So if you are like, I'm struggling to find a way to color this, try an alcohol ink, because honestly, they'll color anything, including my coffee table. Yes, I did have to spray, because I bought my daughter some markers and she got them on my table, and now I'm in the process of trying to get them off with the alcohols. Anywho, so this handle I have to trim because it's supposed to be behind. So I just used the oval for the blue one as a guideline and then trimmed it off. And then now I'll be able to put the other handle on top. Okay, so anyway. So I was like, I really want her to have what she has, but I didn't know anything about Star Wars. And my sister was a Star Trek fan, but that's a totally different thing. So I did have to do a little bit of Googling. I knew right away about the Yoda and like his speech pattern. So I knew that I wanted to incorporate that. But other than that, I did not know diddly squat. Okay, I knew it took place in space. I knew there's a lot of people in it. Like the Harrison Ford, the I knew the Princess Leia and her hair. Like I didn't know much else about it. So I did have to do a scotch of research to find out the colors and stuff like that and what the lightsabers looked like. But really that's all I did, because it's not about me. This card is not about me. This card is not about whether or not I'm a Star Wars fan. The important part is he is, and I want him to have something that he will be thrilled to get to celebrate his Father's Day, because he is a great dad. Okay, so here I've marked where this needs to go. You saw I held it over top and I just marked it with my pen. And then once I had it marked, I went ahead and traced it. Now I've used some dry adhesive, some strong dry adhesive to glue it down. These lights from Pear Blossom Press, this is called the Easy Light. And I needed this one specifically because it has 3 prongs. I really would have loved if they had like an LED, kind of like a strip light. Amanda from Pear Blossom Press, I'm talking to you, girl. I know you watch my videos because I love you. Please, a strip. That'd be so good. Anyway, moving on. So anyway, they do have these wires, and I don't want to see the wires from the vellum. So I'm trying to position them in a way that when I tape them down, you won't be able to see them through the vellum. It doesn't matter what they look like under your card, because ain't nobody going to see it. Just like the back of your hair ain't none of your business. Okay. You can't see it. It's none of your business. Underneath the card, nobody's going to see it. It's none of their business. Okay. We just need it to light up properly without seeing all of the wires. So what I like to do is get the light in place, and then I can pull the wires around. They're actually, I mean, not that they're not fragile, like you don't want to pull them out or anything, but if you're gentle with them, they're pretty flexible and you can move them wherever. Here it is. You can see it lights up better when it's in the dark, like because the vellum helps dissipate that light. But I was really happy with the way that it was looking, and I needed the 3 because I needed them to all light up at the same time. So when you pushed one button, I needed the tops of the lightsabers to light up, and the base had to be shared. That's why we crisscrossed them, so that the base could be shared, because I only had 3 lights. Now here I went crazy. I lost my mind, and I used a lot of foam tape. Like, I was making a shaker card, but I wasn't making a shaker card. And so I did not make any allowances for that light. So when I went to go put this on here, because we have to have the foam tape to make an allowance for the light, it has to be higher than the mechanism for the light. I went to go put it on and I realized that I couldn't close it because, hey, I have foam tape where the light is. So that's a problem. So I just peeled it back up. Thankfully, again, sitting on the vellum, so less of an issue. I just peeled it back up, and then I trimmed off what I needed to make an allowance for the light. This gets trickier if you're doing a light up shaker card, which honestly, Trinity just had a new release, and I have a project on my desk with that new release that is a light up shaker card. And so it does get a little trickier because you have to have the foam tape to block in all the shakery bits, but then you also have the light that you have to make an allowance for. This is just a light, so it's less of an issue. And then the one on the blue, when you press the bottom button, is when everything lights up. So now we're gonna play musical sentiments, just like we did with our dies to create the card. So I used the dad set, the mom set, the faith set, because I was looking for specific words. And then here I could only find Happy Mother's Day. I couldn't find Happy Father's Day. The fathers was separate. So I'm going to use this tape trick to create my sentiment. I'm taping off mothers. Okay. Treating it with my anti-static tool. And then I'm going to ink this up with the tape on. You got to leave it there. With the tape on, I'm going to ink it up with that same white pigment ink. And then before I stamp it, I'm going to take the tape off. Okay. Then I'm going to stamp it down. And now it says Happy '*S Day. Big blank in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to remove that stamp. And then I'm going to put father in the middle there. Okay. I'm going to line it up. It did take me a minute. I won't lie to you. And now I'm going to ink up everything again. I do like to stamp them twice. And now it's going to say Happy Father's Day because we've put the fathers in there. So from here, more white detail embossing powder. This is on a navy cardstock. I think it's in the navy from Gina K. And then I'm going to heat set that, and then I'm going to trim them all into labels. Okay. And what it says is Father's Day, it is the best you are. Because that's how Yoda speaks. He switches around the verb and the noun, like the object, verb, noun. Anyway, he speaks this way. And so I thought that it would be fun to have it. So if you wanted this to be a birthday card, you could just take out the Father's Day and change it to your birthday. It is the best you are, or, you know what I mean? Whatever you wanted to put there. I did add a little bit of shimmer to my lightsabers. You can only do this if your distress ink is face down, or distress oxide ink is face down. Added a couple of little highlights with a white gel pen, and then that's it. This is, of course, I played with it a ton, but then it had to get shipped off to him for Father's Day. So I hope this inspires you to play around with the things that you have, to get more out of your products, to make things that are on theme. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.